Intuit released Sandbox support for their QuickBooks Online API, I don't know, about 2 years ago or so, and it's made life so much better for the developer who wants to integrate with QuickBooks Online version 3. And in this episode, I'm going to go over how to do multiple sandboxes and name them. All right, here I have just a standard login to the developer at intuit.com, and I just have a app here made called Test App. And it's just important to emphasize that sandboxes, which you can go to from here, are not tied to applications. Okay, when you make an application, this is your basically, your server-side app's name, and you're going to provide integration with your users' QuickBooks Online, and that's what the sandbox is. It's just a way to mimic your a user's QuickBooks Online account. Now, it's tied to your login, which I think sometimes leads to a little confusion. That you make apps, then you have sandboxes that are tied to apps, but your sandbox is tied to your username, and you get, in essence, you get 5 sandboxes, distinct sandboxes. So let me just click there, and here it's going to load in my sandboxes here, and here's my my basic sandbox you get. It will be, you'll get one. Now I'm going to make another one. All right, so you get add. You can also do them with different countries. I'm going to do US here. Okay, it takes a little bit of time to do it. And all I'm going to do is really just go over putting a new name on it, so that you can make a distinction between the two. Now, you can also make a distinction here because it names it with this _2, which is fine. But in this case, I'm going to make one specifically for my QBO API library, or at least for testing multiple sandboxes in QBO API. QBO API will support any developer's sandbox. So right now, today, I'm going to be testing how generic that is, because I want to be able to support, of course, many people contributing to the library, and I want them to be able to use their sandbox to record specs in VCR. And I think I've made, now, if you know anything about VCR, it determines the viability of the recording based on the URL. So I've made it generic, but I'm going to be testing to see how generic it is. And this doesn't matter for the screencast, but I do want to give it a better name so I can remember it better. So to do that, you just go to company, go to the sandbox itself. Excuse me. And did I go there? Or there we go. Okay, so again, we sort of have this name again, Sandbox Company. We want to give it a better name. And to do that, you just go here to Settings, Company Settings. And we're going to edit this right here. And I'm going to say QBO API gem generic spec test. What do we call it? Generic spec. Generic spec is good enough, yeah, because I'll know that it's going to be a secondary one to test for the generic settings again. All right, so I just hit save. You can put a logo in there to make it even more distinct. But if we then go back now to here, it should register in with the new name. It's taking a little bit of time here. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, then here we go. That took a long time. Here we have the new name. And you may want to test also different settings, company settings, like turning classes on or having chart of account numbers, and maybe you'll specify that in this as well. And it's nice that they give you 5. That's relatively recent that they did that, I believe. It certainly wasn't in the initial launch, and they've added this pretty recently too. I don't know, like 6 months, a year ago, like the different countries, and that's awesome too. Just the Sandbox stuff is just so awesome, and that's what I built into. I really wanted to leverage that, the awesomeness of the Sandbox environment when doing the QBO API gem. There's no reason to not test against these great sandboxes when you're writing a library. So I hope you enjoyed that and find it useful.